Hello and welcome to CadoinkStudios. I am Cadoink, and today I am here with Vaisnt.
I'm Vaisnt. Hello, how's it going?
And I'm doing pretty good, Vaisnt. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Doing great. Awesome, man. Well, we are back in action, casting again for the first time in a long time.
In a while, actually.
Yeah, in a long while. We haven't casted since 2011, man.
It's been a long, long year.
Yeah.
Well, looks like we have Supernova.
We do have Supernova, oGsSuperNova, spawning as the red Terran in the top left position of Antigua Shipyard. And in the bottom right we have
Vileillusion.
yes, spawning as the pink Terran. So this will be a TvT. Pretty typical matchup, mirror matchup. I used to hate TvT more than anything, and I know that Vaisnt doesn't really like ZVZ, so people aren't too fond of their mirror matchups. They're quite difficult.
As you can see, the supply depots are almost synced, as well as their build times on everything. Even their minerals were almost exactly alike.
Yeah, well, this is kind of the most optimal strategy, build order, I should say. We do see some differences, as we do see vileillusion has his depot in his base, while oGsSuperNova is opting to make the wall off. This is a very interesting decision, probably to try to deny scouts, this sort of thing. And he's also getting a gas a lot earlier than vileillusion, which would lead me to believe that he's early expanding, which we do see an SCV going out. It could be scouting. Yes, this is his scout SCV at this time. And yeah, not too much in the way of things at this time.
It appears that both scouts are meeting fairly close. Does he actually see this scout? Let's
yes,
check
he does see him.
SCV ready.
I believe he was right on the path.
He may have seen the scout, so that's good to know. He knows where it's coming from.
Yeah, it's good. He can be able to deduce pretty easily that he's up in this position, and actually he is going there, and oGsSuperNova is going down here. I don't know. I believe this could be a GSL game or some sort of tournament game, because we do not see the gold. I believe this is gold on the ladder.
It is,
space,
yes.
And so this could be some sort of tournament play, and they may have to spawn in these cross positions. Sometimes tournaments do that.
Supernova coming out with an early Reaper.
Yeah, we do see the tech lab went down really early, and he is getting this Reaper up before getting any Marines. This will allow him to go into the base, try to do some harassment, see if he can pick off some SCVs, this sort of thing.
It's also a great scout.
It is a great scout.
Especially for anything walled off. Allows you to get in the base without having to deal with that front wall.
Yes, however it is vulnerable to early attacks, but luckily vileillusion is taking this very fast expansion, so he has kind of more surface area he needs to defend, and in the early stages you don't have that much in the way of defense. We do see only 2 Marines at this time, as well as a 3rd popping out, and his 2nd barracks is just now being started, so he won't have that much in the way of defending this, whereas if he only had 1 base, he would have less surface area to try to push back those Reapers, so this will be very effective. And I think maybe Supernova might have done this, maybe knowing vileillusion's playstyle, maybe knowing he was going to do something like this. And we do see that vileillusion also has kind of a 6th sense for this sort of thing, as he's putting some Marines here in this little gassed off area.
vileillusion's gas just now coming up, just now hitting only 2 SCVs in each of the gas. Very interesting move there.
Yeah, this is a very popular style, this kind of early expand and then 2 in each gas. It's kind of a very Marine heavy play. He's getting this reactor, as we can see, as well as another barracks, so he will be able to produce a lot of Marines. We do see 2 Reapers coming in with an SCV at this time. Reaper's trying to poke in, but he does have 4 Marines. 3 now. Marines able to pick off the SCV and push back the Reapers at this time.
We're seeing another Reaper and a Hellion come in. Most likely for an harassment port. The starport is being put on the tech lab, so we'll probably see some Banshee play in just a moment.
Yeah, we do see a very interesting kind of 1-1-1 switch around sort of thing, going Reapers into Hellions and then Hellions into Banshees, and we do see the Reapers and Hellions coming in, and they're not doing any harassment. They're just going straight for the attack, picking off the Marines as well as the SCVs in the mineral line. Going to be trying to take down this command center, but opting to go up to the base and see if he can pick off some of the Marines. The Marines do go down with 1 Hellion and 1 Reaper left. They will be able to pick off these remaining 2 Marines, and vileillusion is in a lot of trouble right now.
Cloak is being researched along with Banshee being up. There is a shield coming up for vileillusion, and Supernova is expanding just now.
Yes, we see that while he's attacking, he's taking this expansion because he knows that it is a safe choice. The combat shield is a very good choice by vileillusion since he wants to be pumping out a lot of these Marines. However, the Marines are vulnerable to the Hellion because Marines, I do believe, are light, and Hellions do a lot of damage to light units.
We have 5 Marines coming out from vileillusion, hoping to stop this maddening, I'm sure, harassment.
Yes, they will be able to pick off this Hellion, and he will feel a little bit of safety, but another Hellion is on the way as well as this Banshee, and the Banshee, the cloak is almost finished, so the Banshee is going to do a lot of damage, especially since vileillusion doesn't have any turrets up. Luckily, he does have this engineering bay, as well as 2 orbital commands. The Banshee is now coming in and trying to pick off some of these Marines, and after it picks off the Marines, it will cloak and try to pick off some of these SCVs. We do see it cloaking now, finishing off the Marines if it can. A lot of minerals being lost by vileillusion. We can see 1,300 resources to Supernova's 650 lost. So this harassment is very good by Supernova.
Absolutely. Another Banshee coming out. Let's look at Supernova's second base, or his natural.
We do see his expansion has finished, and he is mining from it.
He is using some lovely mules. I do love mule plate. Stim and level 1 weapons being upgraded by vileillusion.
Yeah, we do see combat shield has finished. He does get a scan off, and he is able to pick off that Banshee, but we do see the second one is en route, and it will have cloak as well, and he just wasted a scan, so vileillusion really should be putting up some turrets. However, I don't know if he thinks that Supernova is going to build any more Banshees or not. Probably is good to assume, because now this Banshee is in his base trying to pick off these Marines, and he doesn't have much in the way of being able to take care of it. With this command center at 22 energy, and this one only at 10. So he is in a lot of trouble having only 1 turret here in his main.
He's going to try and deny that factory.
Factory is denied for the time being. Now we will be able to pick off this supply depot. I do not like the supply depot placement for that reason, and I don't like the factory placement for that reason as well. It's not good to keep things at the very skirts of your base, especially when you're playing against a player who likes to go Banshees. Banshee is uncloaked, but now it is far enough away from the Marines that it will be able to start picking them off if they get too close, and so he is going to be losing a lot here. This depot is about to go down. Overextending just a little bit, the Banshee does get a hit off by the turret, and vileillusion having enough Marines to put some on the high ground, some on the low ground, will hopefully be able to deny this Banshee for a little bit longer.
We are seeing siege and tanks come up from Supernova, so, and a couple medevacs. We could see a drop here, but most likely we'll just see a push on the front door.
Yeah, we do know that this Banshee being in his base this whole time kind of gives him some scouting as well as the harassment. He knows that vileillusion doesn't have that much. He has a bunch of Marines, and he does see this factory is building a reactor, so he knows he won't have any siege tanks, and so these Marines aren't going to be able to pick off tanks that easily, especially if the tanks are siege. So he knows if he can build up a force of tanks, as well as having a good Marine medevac force, he will be able to pick it off very easily. But at the same time, vileillusion, now feeling safe, is pushing out into the map. If he gets there a little too early, if he doesn't have siege done, he could catch him off guard, but it looks like siege will finish just now,
along
just
with
in
Stim
time, as well as Stim.
And the shield, and combat shield.
Yeah, they're all finishing at a pretty decent time. This is a good timing by oGsSuperNova. With these siege tanks and these Marines, vileillusion won't be able to do that much damage. In fact, vileillusion, I think, is starting to second guess himself, and he's pulling back to this watchtower so he can get some vision. Right now, I'd really be worrying about the possibility of tanks, because you haven't seen his base and you haven't seen what's going on, so I would try to find a way to get a scout in there and hopefully see what your opponent is doing. That way, you know if he is going tanks, you need to do something to defend against that, whereas if he's continuing with this kind of Banshee play, you know he'll be maybe more low on gas and this sort of thing.
We are
Marines
seeing
coming in.
in the middle of the ring. Mass damage done by just a great army. That composition is fantastic.
Yeah,
no siege actually is needed there. So
that's true. He has enough Marines and enough medevacs. Look at that, 6 medevacs. The siege tanks do just enough damage unsieged, but now that he's coming up to a ramp, he will siege his tanks up and try to get that extra vision, especially with having these medevacs to be able to see up on the high ground. Marines stimming forward, trying to pick off some, but there are too many, so they're going to pull back, trying to pull the Marines into the tank fire, get some extra damage. We do see some more Marines have come to reinforce, as well as another tank. and 3 tanks, and these Marines are going to do a lot of damage to this amount of Marines.
Also take note of the second expansion that OGS is taking.
Yeah, we do see oGsSuperNova is taking his third at this time. It's very good to push and take an expansion at the same time. Also, he's sieging his tanks up next to this high ground, which is going to be very obnoxious for vileillusion because he does have vision. He's putting some of the Marines in medevac, putting them on top, but vileillusion is sending Marines to the top to try to pick off the rest of the army, but the siege tanks are doing a ton of damage to the Marines, and we do see that all the Marines go down for vileillusion, and there's the GG from vileillusion.
What a great game.
Yeah, that was a fantastic game. I'm really impressed by oGsSuperNova's little beginning thing. I know, Vaisnt, you've been trying to get me to go Reapers, and I haven't seen that much in pro play, and I haven't quite liked them, but that was a very nice use of them. I would like to see more use of them in the future. And in fact, if you guys know any use, you can send those replays to CadoinkReplays@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to cast them. See kind of some Reaper play, some effective Reaper play. They were very effective in beta, and since then they've kind of gone down, so I'd like to see more play by the Reaper.
Absolutely. I honestly think that was some of the best Reaper Hellion mix I've seen. So
Yeah, I think Reapers and Hellions kind of complement each other in this sort of situation, and I think he used them for...
I could
best
honestly
possible.
see that being used against Protoss, Zerg, and Terran. I mean, obviously we saw it used today against Terran, but I think it'd be really effective against Protoss because you can hop around the base. The Zealots are not ranged, and the Hellions, they can just run around as well. So I mean, there's just mass chaos going on. The
Yeah.
Protoss player might not be able to get that Stalker out in time, and when he does, chances are that he's going to be economically behind. So that Terran player will just be able to steamroll him over with some tanks and just Marine force.
I agree with that. It really depends on what the Protoss player is doing. I think it would be safe in an Forge Fast Expand situation.
Yeah.
Whereas if he did go kind of a gateway first, if he popped out that Stalker, one Stalker would effectively be able to shut down one Reaper as well as a Hellion. But in Forge Fast Expands as well as 2-gate Zealot play, it would be very effective against a Protoss player. And against Zerg, I think it would be effective against an early expanding Zerg as well. I think it's just a very good play against early expand.
It's a very aggressive style play, and I really appreciate that.
Yes, it is very aggressive, especially since StarCraft has kind of moved into this 2-basing situation, kind of like Brood War had. Back in the day, Brood War was a lot of 1-basing until it moved into 2-basing, and StarCraft 2 is kind of following that same pattern. And a lot of players are saying, well, you know what, there's nothing wrong with 1-base play. We can still get away with that, and I think that's what we saw in this game, kind of going a 1-base early attack and then taking your expansion.
Yeah, when you have map control and you feel safer about it. It just seemed like a good game to me, so.
Yeah, well, anyway, this was Cadoink,
I'm Vaisnt.
and we will see you guys later.
Thanks.